All right, we have the Open tournament, the 2024 Open tournament, and it's going to be at Greenock Point, which is really cool. That is my absolute favorite course in the entire game. They have a second set of tees for it, and they have redesigned some of the holes, so some of it doesn't play like it used to, but it's still a pretty. The thing about Greenock Point is it used to be in Tour 5 and Tour 10. And it's a great course because there's so many skills that you can learn on this course. It is an excellent course. If we had clans that actually had something more than just getting extra bags, where we could designate a home course, I would really try and get my clan mates to designate Greenock Point as my home course. I did get enough. What's funny is the last 2 days I got a Spitfire in the club car trading. And I also got an Apocalypse. I only needed 6 Spitfires, so I chose the Spitfire the last 2 days over the Apocalypse, but it's funny how that works out. But we do have an upgrade. We can get the rest of its ball guide, a little bit more backspin, a little bit more topspin, make it even better. I'm not sure it gets just a very small little bit of ball guide and a little teeny bit more backspin, so it is there. Da, 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 da. All right, let's go check out this course. Let's check it out. This is a super okay. All right, you can, and in pro, from the pro tees, this is a great hole if you're playing pro for the deal is we have, with our ball inventories that are out there now, you might be able to play it on the right in pro, but there's a great shot from over here with a Thor's Hammer with the backspin. You can do it with an APOC, but a Thor's Hammer, especially if you got an upper developed Thor's Hammer that's got backspin, there's a great shot from over here. But from rookie, we really have 2 choices. We can hit from right here and go at it, or we can do a rough bump. And I believe it's with a sniper. I think it's a sniper Kingmaker is what the deal is, because the deal with it is that your red line's right there. So if we've got to do headwind and you're using a Kingmaker, there could be days if the wind's high enough and it's straight on headwind where you might have a little bit of a red line issue. This is one of those difficult holes that you can get in the right spot, you can get up there. It seems to me like in the past we've added some on, but whatever the adjustment is, it's very small. If it is like a 10%, it might be. This is one of those holes that I need to start off at 0 at the beginning of the week instead of starting off with a number. Start off at 0 and see where I end up. Find a spot where you can wedge yourself up, where you can give yourself room from the sand and be able to go. I'm going to do this rough bump every time. For my game, this is the perfect type of rough bump. We've got a very nice rough area. We can give ourselves some separation from the sand so that we don't have to pull over the sand doing that. Especially with some of the newer balls out there, if you're finding yourself having to get close to it, you can bring out a 4-side spin ball. You can bring out, if we had those days where you had a little bit more wind and you found yourself having a red line issue, you could come out with a 4 power ball and give yourself room. Well, and nowadays you could come out with a 7 power ball. I don't know if they've sold any of the 7 power balls yet, but so it's a 3.5 power ball. It's so close. They just here in the last couple of weeks came out with the Power 10 stuff instead of Power 5. So it's going to be 7 years of working a Kingmaker as a Power 3 ball. Now it's Power 6. It's going to take some time to get my vocabulary down. But there is a beautiful rough bump right here. And I'm going to work on that rough bump every single time in rookie. I'm not sure in pro if you bring out a big enough, if you brought out something big, whether you could get there. Let's look at the tees. I don't know that you can. But I know that there's a great shot over here in pro with a backspin club. Hole number 2. All right. Okay. I think there's a couple holes like this on here. If we don't get an eagle on this par 4, we've pretty much dropped the shot from the people that are at the top. Because you're going to be able to look through the bracket, and it's going to be very unlikely. There might be somebody who dropped a shot on this, but then they tore it up on the rest of the course. But typically, what you're going to see is the top 15, 20 people, every single one of them, especially the top 10, every single one of them got an eagle on this hole every single time. And there are several ways that you can do it, but probably the best way to go at it is to start off over here. And you can use an extra mile for this. An APOC does work a little bit better if you've got an APOC that's got its 240 distance, just so it gets you a little bit more raw distance. And I like to leave myself at least 2 rings off of that transitional surface, and I'm pretty sure on the drive I was doing plus 10. But this is, once again, one of those things we want to work out as the week goes on. We want to see what the wind's like. You've got plenty of room here with a 6 power ball. You should have plenty of room, even with your extra mile, where you can pull back a little bit from the red line. Now, if you've got some lower developed clubs where you're having a hard time getting up there, I mean, even if you've got like a mid-level extra mile where it's in it gets its distance pretty quick, so you should be able to take this with a 6 power ball. When you're coming over, what's difficult about this is that you can, and this is why we really need to work on what our variable number is for the week, because you can hit this a little light and it'll just roll off the back, or you can hit it a little fat and it'll get stuck in it. So I mean, there is a fine spot right there where you want to hit it. And normally, if I remember correctly, when I'm playing this shot, I'm coming like over here towards the sand. And we do have a shot for hole-in-one here. There is a shot for hole-in-one here. I think this is the 3rd or 4th hole that I got a hole-in-one on, or par 4s that I got a hole-in-one on. It is possible. It is possible. The other way that you can go at it is you can come over here from the tee box and try and lay yourself up right here. If you're doing this shot over here and you're putting a lot of curl on it, what you got to remember is this is where you want to watch the arc of your shot. And so right here you might be in the fairway, and then you're like, well, I'm going to put a bunch of curl on it and then I'll just bring it towards the cup. Well, when you do that, now you're over here and you're in the rough. And it's super easy. Anybody that's taken the shot from over on this side, it's super easy to end up right here in one of these 2 sand traps, because, you know, over here you were fine, but then when you figure out your arc and you move your shot along because you put curl on it, you're tagging it right there. If you're, for whatever reason, having to go this direction, the main thing is just get over here. You got a great shot from right here. The green's pretty flat. It doesn't have a lot of moguls and stuff on it. So if you can just lay yourself up here, you got a nice little chip shot. But the best way to go at it is to start off from over here and try and go straight at the green. You're going to do a rough bump. So it's going to be bounce number 1, bounce number 2 in the rough, and then you're going to bleed out. So it's a second bounce rough bump. That's why that adjustment that we need to make, the variable. You can say it's an elevation, but it's not an elevation. It's a variable that they want in here. We were on a hole in the last tournament that from the tee box down to the hole was about this, and you could do either a plus 20 or a plus 30. And there was another hole where you were here and it was down to here, and I was hitting it at 0 plus 0.1 and made it once. And the rest of the time was just right off the cup. So like there was a much bigger elevation change. Yes, elevation is a real word, and it is a real thing. And our eyes can see an elevation change when we're out on the course. But just because we can see it and you can identify that there is an elevation change doesn't mean that the number that we need to do has anything to do with that. This is just a variable. And so we'll really want to know what that variable is when we're trying to do a second bounce rough bump. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to start at plus 10, and then we'll see where we go from there. See where we go. That we got to get an eagle on that hole. And if you're not willing to bring out whatever it takes to get into the right spot, if you're doing it with overpower, you can get up there and get an eagle with overpower. But the problem is that it's consistency throughout the week. And you want to bring out whatever you need to bring out so that every time you're setting it up at the same spot, you're pulling it back to the +8 mark and you're adding on 5 topspin and you're doing the same thing every time. If it's a pure headwind, you may have to add on a little bit more on your variable. If it's a tailwind, you may, do the same thing. You may have to do less. So, but we want to be able to get an eagle on this every time. We need to make it standard. Hey, don't shoot me. I'm just a messenger, man. I'm just a messenger. All right. Man, I don't even remember this par 5. Let me think here. What the heck? What in the heck? I don't even remember this hole. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm looking at it trying to remember what the deal is, but this hole is different than it used to be. So I was like trying to get my mind wrapped around. This part down here is all the same, but this area up here is totally different. This used to not be there. All right. The goal here, okay, here's the thing. Here's the deal. You can, from the tee box, drive it up in here with a freaking quarter rack. Mid-level, low-level, and ended up right in this area right here. And before you were you really had to bring out the right ball, because to get over to the green side, this fairway area wasn't there. So there is a beautiful rough bump here, but to get to that spot was pretty difficult. Now, because there's this fairway right here, if you get out into this spot and you didn't bring the right ball, you didn't get enough distance, and from here it's going to be the right ball. You didn't get enough to get the rough bump, then you can bounce off of here and you can do bounce number 1, bounce number 2, and then come up to the cup. If you bring the right equipment and you're along this line right here by the sand, and you'll have to go out there and play it a few times with what you want to play with and what ball you want to play with, so that you can find out, like, how deep am I going to have to get in order to do that rough bump. Otherwise, you'll have to bounce off of this fairway and then bounce over. I think you could do a second bounce rough bump, but I really don't think that's the way you're going to do it if you're going to bounce off of this island. I think you're going to bounce off the island, bounce over to the other side, and then run up to the cup. I played this hole for a long time, and I always laid myself up right here because it's super easy to get to that spot. You bring the right stuff, you get the rough bump, boom, you do the thing. And I made tons of adjustments and seemed like I was just like always off the cup. So I quit beating my head up against the wall. If you do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's the sign of insanity. So I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this spot. So now what I do is I try and get up into this spot. I try and change my angle a little bit. And where I'm coming in on the rough bump is like right in front of that sand, right next to that sand on this angle. And it doesn't seem like it's that big of a it is a little bit of a distance deal, but the thing about it, the angle to the cup just seems a little bit better. And I've had a ton of success from down here. And I believe on this, you can, once again, if you've got an extra mile will work fine. I've ended up in this area very easily with an extra mile. Kingmaker, you're going to have to work the shot with your clubs to find out where you need to get out here with that ball to make sure that you have enough room to do the rough bump. Because you can get, if you're a little bit short, you can get where if you had a tailwind, you could work it out and you could do the rough bump. But if you had a headwind, you won't have enough room to work the wind out. So you'll have to take the shot a few times to get this spot right. Like go out there and find out where you can get to. And then once you find out where you can get to, then you'll know what ball you're going to need in order to get to that rough bump. If I remember correctly, I'm going to have to go back when I do my practice round tomorrow. I'll go back through and look at some older video that I've got, and I believe I was like plus 15. I worked on this whole one tournament and got it locked in and was just hammering it. And then the very next time we played these holes, they changed to this configuration. But with the numbers that I came up with in that tournament were the same. And I've had a lot of success on this hole. This is a very, very albiable hole. There's some of the holes that are in this course that are super, super tough. And when they reconfigured some of the holes, like this one, they made them easier. So you're going to see a lot of people who are bouncing it over and are going to be able to get it in, but I still think the rough bump is the best way to go at this hole. But you will have to play this with your equipment in order to find out how far you have to get in there and what kind of ball you're going to need to bring in order to get up to the green. Hole number 4. Hole number 4. Oh, let's go back on that hole one more time. I suppose if you brought out some topspin stuff or you did something special, you might be able to get over to this side right here. I'm not sure I've ever seen anybody do it, but I've seen a bunch of people try and go for it. And I'm sure that there's people out there that are going, oh no, I've done that shot. But you're at the very end of your run trying to go over a rough area you're trying to thread the needle between two sand traps. And when your ball has nothing left in the tank, you're trying to go through a rough area to get over here. When if you can get right here, you've got the same shot. You might be in a long iron over here and you might be in a wood over here, but this spot is going to be repeatable every time, whereas this spot over on the other side, even if you had topspin boost balls, Power 5, I suppose if you brought out a Power 5 topspin boost ball, you might be able to get over to that side. You might. That's one of the things about having the new ball inventories, is there is some shots that you can take like that. I'm not sure how much better your shot would be from over there, although you would be in a long iron instead of in a wood. So if you got the ball inventory, it might be worth, at least looking at it just to see what the deal is. But you have a great Albie shot from up top on that hole. You don't have to get jiggy with it. All right, this is another par 4 that has an awesome opportunity to get an eagle. And there's a couple ways that you can play it. First of all, let's talk about this little ski ramp here. Have you ever seen this thing goes like this? There is no way in hell I'm going to hit ever. You will never, ever, ever see me demo a shot off of that tongue. Because it is, if you're off just a little, you make a bad wind adjustment, you're going to go for, who knows where it's going to go. That's just not the way to go. You can bring out a Power 5 ball and start off over here and try and get it up, but I've been able to come out here with just a Power 3 ball and get the same thing. Especially if you got a maxed out extra mile. If you got an extra mile that has all of its distance. The thing about an extra mile taking this shot is that from the tee box, let's draw a line to the cup. So this is the line to the cup. You ain't going that way. So what we're trying to do is come over this way and bring the ball back over into this area right here. And from up here, you can be in short iron. You can, if you get up in there deep enough, you can get into wedge. I really don't want to get into wedge because when you're up here getting into wedge, your angle coming to it, you're kind of over the sand. So when you're coming to the green, you're kind of pinched up. You got to start right here and then bring it to the cup. Whereas if you're like right out here, you can come at it this way and you can start off right here in this spot. And it gives you that little bit of separation where you can run it out just a little. You used to have to do this whole, they kind of did some reconfiguring here, and it used to play where you really needed to do backspin. But if you're off over here on the side, I think you can do it with like maybe one backspin or half a topspin. It's just a very little bit of an adjustment if you start off over here. But if you're up in this area where you have to come at it with the sand, you're pinched up, and you probably will have to have a little bit more backspin in order to get to the cup. But this is the area to get to. So if we're drawing a line from the tee box, and we're shooting for, we're shooting for this area right here, and we draw a line to the tee box. We need to start off over in this area, and if you've got an extra mile with its 50 curl and a 3 power ball, this sand trap is a little bit in your way. And so you'll have to separate yourself from that sand trap. So you're going off in this angle, and you really need to hit it perfect, because this is bounce number 1 and bounce number 2 is right here. And this rough area, if you hit anything to the right, you've got to go farther in order to clear the rough. And it's very possible that you're going to clip the rough and either bleed out, which is fine. You still get a great shot from there. Or you could get caught up in the rough. If you've got an APOC, this is a little bit better because you can give yourself a little bit more separation in this area, and it's got a lot more curl, and you can do a max curl shot on it. I'm going to set this shot up so that I'm doing a max curl shot with my APOC. That way I can give myself plenty of separation here, and I'm going to be facing off in this direction trying to cover this angle. And that way if I hit a great to the left or the right, I've got plenty of room all the way around my ball. The other way you can go at it is you can come over to here and you can bounce it over. This is kind of the same thing too, as you'll see a lot of people, they want to go over and they want to get up into this area. The farther up here you can get, the better. And almost a little bit high like this, because if you draw a line to the cup, you're trying to get so that you can start your shot off right here. And so if you're down in here, you get a little bit pinched when you're coming up in here. So it's, you know, getting that extra distance and getting up into that corner. It's kind of hard to do it. Typically you're going to end up like right out in this area. You might go too far forward and end up out here, but this is kind of a pretty good spot. The deal is if you're going to that spot and you're starting off right here, you're going to need to put some curl on it. But what you have to you got to remember, you got to think about your arc of your shot. You're coming off in this direction right here. Here's bounce number 1, here's bounce number 2, and here's the arc of your shot. And so when you put that curl on it to bring it over so that you can get it up into here, you're going to see a bunch of people this week that do this exact thing. They were looking at where they were bouncing here, and they were looking at where they were going, and they forgot to look at their second bounce, and they put that curl on there, and their second bounce clipped the rough and just bled them out. They still got a great shot from there. But it's easy to get caught up in this as well. And you won't have a great shot from being caught up there. I think you can recover from there with if you've got a Nirvana, because you can get over to the side and you can run it up. But we don't really want to do that. The main thing here is I'm going to be shooting for this area all week. Because from here you have a great shot to the cup. And for some reason I'm thinking it was -10, but I could be wrong on that. It seems like it fluctuated between -10 and -5. There was I think we were actually taking wind off on this. And this is a very, very makeable par 4. It's tough, but it is makeable. This will be a great hole throughout the week. You can work on that hole as the week goes on. This hole right here has got all kinds of... It used to be... This shot right here is opened up a little bit. It used to not be quite as open as it is right now. But a lot of people were just hitting over to here. And then from right here, you've got several options. You can do a blind shot around the trees with socks. And it's not as much fun to do this shot anymore with the way that the green... because they changed the green. You could also end up in this area right here, and there are lanes through the trees, and you could go straight at it. They have, because they've put this fairway over here, they've changed this side, and they've changed this area down in here. You can come down here now and hit and get over to the other side, and then from here you've got a straight up shot to the cup. I will tell you, this shot from over here, this area, is when you're coming down to point A, here's point A, and then you're going up to point B. And so your ball here is coming down, and so when your ball comes down, it hits and it wants to take a flat bounce. And what you really want it to do is take a high bounce so that it will come over, but it wants to dive. And the farther down here you hit, the more it wants to dive on the other side. And so you'll find yourself looking at it and it's like, hey, I'm going to need to do a rough bump, and then you end up in the sand. This is actually a pretty difficult shot to set up, just depending on your clubs and what ball you bring out. So don't be... This is... If you want to take this shot, and I have taken this shot, and I really don't like the look from over here, although I've used this as my backup. If you got really bad wind, if you're not wanting to bring out a bigger power ball. But this area right here is the shot that I'm going to be taking. But there is a shot from right here, and you can go straight at the cup. You got a nice shot from here. All right, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to come from here to here and put side spin, because you can't do a lot of curl because of these freaking trees. And you can do side spin from right here. And I believe if you've got an APOC that's got its 240, got its max distance, you can just get a little teeny bit of a window here. So if you have any pure side wind or a little bit of tailwind, you can manipulate and use that wind to keep you on to the fairway. And then you're going to use all of your side spin. This is where a bigger side spin ball will help. And all of your top spin. But you can't put a lot of curl on it or you'll clip these trees. You'll want to, but I mean, you could rub the nubs, but I mean, if you go any past that, especially if you hit a great to the left, you're going to tag the trees. And what you're trying to do is get bounce number 1 and then bounce number 2. And it does the same thing here too, as it dives. It hits this area right here and then it dives over the other side. And in most cases, you'll clip the rough and then it'll just bleed out. I have had some, especially if you're using a topspin boost ball, where I've hit here and then I've cleared it and hit over on the other side and it'll put you in the rough behind the trees. That's a shit shot from right there. That you do not want that to happen. But you can recover from over there, but it's not good. You got a great shot from right there. Grizzly from right here. Boom. And I think once again, this was one that this is one of those holes where we're here and here's the green, here's the flagpole, and we're looking uphill towards it, and it seemed like we should be doing like a -10, but I'm not so sure we weren't doing a +10. I'll have to go out there and I'll watch some old video and see what the deal is, and we'll practice it one time. That's why we have a practice round, so we can go out there and practice it. This whole thing is all about remembering the holes and getting an idea of how you want to play it. For me, all week long, I'm going to try and play it from here. But I'm not sure on some days when you've got headwind, because you've got such a small little window over here, you'll have to bring out a bigger ball. And as far as like 5-power balls, I've got some, I've got a lot of berserkers, but they only have 2 side spin, and you really need side spin because you can't use curl. Getting up into this spot, bam. There is a great shot from right here, but I never really like going through the trees like that, because once again, you can't use any curl, and if you hit a great to the left or the right, you could be in some big ass trouble. And the shot from over here, just to get over here is pretty difficult. It's very easy to roll off and end up long, and if you're long here, you are screwed. The thing about it doing this shot is if you get stuck in the rough and you're right here, you can easily recover. Even if you get this shot and you end up in the rough over here, you can easily recover. So I'm more interested in, if I mess my drive up, I can still recover. I'm going to be taking this shot all week. Right here, bam, to the hole. Bam, to the hole. This hole has, once again, because they've opened up this side right here, they've made this hole a lot easier than it used to be. All right. Now, this course used to have the racetrack par 3s, and I am still trying to figure this one out. It seemed like I was hitting from way back here with my sniper and running it up. I think there is a shot from this side right here, but I've had some success from this spot, and it seemed like I was like 3 rings of separation in here, and I'm not so sure that I wasn't using a katana because I wanted the side spin. I'll have to go back and look on some past video just to see what I was doing on this hole, and try and find one where I made the hole-in-one just so that I could get an idea of what was going on. But I'm going to be playing this direction, and it's with a sniper. Pretty sure it's with a sniper. I could be wrong on that. It could be with a grizzly, but I'm pretty sure it's with a sniper. And a cat. The side spin. We used to play this hole direct. This hole is totally different than it used to be. There's 2 racetrack holes in the game originally, and this was one of them, and they completely redesigned it. I actually like the original design better, much better. There was multiple ways to play it. You didn't have to play the racetrack. Do we have another? Yeah, this is the back-to-back par threes, right? Yeah. Back to back to back. This definitely is a racetrack hole. Now, there are more than one way to play this hole. You can, and the thing about throwing the ball up here and then hitting up into this and trying to come back down to the hole is you want to get your ball as close. You're starting up in this area. In the past, I've always done a plus 10 on this hole. At least a good place to start. And that's hitting on this side. But I'm not so sure hitting over here that it's playing the same. So once you find the spot that you really want to hit to, then you're going to have to work out the number for that. But if you're hitting up in this area, trying to get the ball to go up as high as it can possibly go before it drops down on, and if the ball touches the fringe, it's going to roll all the way down to the cup. But this is one of those holes where it's like standing with your back to the course and you throw the ball over and then it ends up where it ends up and everybody ends up really close to the hole, unless you really screwed the shot up. The other ways to go at it is you can come up here. I think the last time we played this hole, I was using... I was using a backspin club, and I was starting off. I was trying to do the thing where I started off right here. You could do a rough bump, but I was starting off right here, and there's a huge ass backboard, and I was trying to find the spot where I could come in here and I could use the backboard to bring me back down to the cup. I'm not sure if I was using a Guardian or if I was using a driver, like I was using a rocker. Something that had some backspin and just trying to get up. I don't think it was a rock. We used to be able to hit through the trees here, but they've moved the trees over. Is it the last hole? Let me look at the last hole here, because there's one of these. Did they change this one as well? No. This one we're definitely hitting the sniper shot at it. I think you can bounce off this on, but there's no way. I'm going to either work on this shot right here, or I'm going to explore what my options are over here. I know that I was trying to do the rough bump over here, but it is a dangerous ass rough bump. Or you can do a backspin shot. I'm going to be looking at this stuff just because it's different. This is super easy. Like if you get out here and you're not really sure what to do, you can come out here and it's really easy to do that shot on that side. And I will tell you that somebody out there is like, okay, you put it 3 blades, you put it 3 rings in, 3 rings and 2 blades of grass, and 3.675 296 topspin, and 3/4 and a tick of curl, and you do all of this stuff and hit it perfect, and what it'll do is it'll go in the hole. And then you go out there next time and you do all that shit, and then it doesn't go in the hole. This hole right here it's throwing the ball over your shoulder and hope that it goes in the hole. And everybody that does that has a shot of it going in the hole. But it's usually just a little bit short. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's why they're racetrack holes. I mean, they're gimmicky. All right, this is another hole right here that we can get on in one. Is par 4? Par 4, yes sir. And this hole is completely different than it used to be, but we're doing the same shit. You're trying to bounce in here, and I believe that we had to bring out a big ball here and trying to get through this little thread the needle through here. I think the last time we played it, I had bagged this area and was actually trying to shoot for this area. It seemed like it was easier to try and get up into here than it was to try and get into this spot. And it's super easy to overshoot this and end up in the sand on the backside. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, the fairway back here is G-string thin. So, I mean, if you have any speed at all when you get to the other side, it's definitely going to roll off. I can't even remember the original configuration on this hole, but this particular one is totally different than it used to be. And we definitely need to get on in one through this gap, or you could try and get over here and go through this. I think I was trying to do a bounce here and then like bounce over the sand and get over. I can't remember what the deal is on this hole, but it did seem like we had to bring out something special. This is going to be the other par, the earlier par 5 or par 4, the first par 4 has a very similar vibe to it, but this one is a lot tougher. We can get on in one, but it's not the have to get eagle. We still need to get it, but it's going to be a lot tougher to get this one than the other one, for sure. And that's the only way I'm going to play it. I suppose what you could do from the tee box is you could drive it over to this fairway over here and just get it up to the front, so you've got a nice little chip to get on. But I think this is going to be one of those holes that if you've got some of those precision balls that are in the strength of ball that you want to use to get over here, if you get on, you get on. And if you don't, hey, if you got a precision ball, any shot that you have to take down here from the sand or this little rough area is going to be in that area where if you hit it perfect, it goes in the hole. And having a precision ball is not a bad deal. Not bad. Yeah, I think that hole right there, you're going to see a lot of precision balls on that hole this week. Lots. This is my favorite hole in the game, and it's totally different. Totally. Used to not, this shit wasn't here. You had to play out to this area. I'm not sure from the pro tees. Like, I still don't think, I suppose it just depends. You can come out here with a rock. I played this with a rock and a kingmaker, and you can play it from this area. If you bring out an APOC, it's a little bit better because it's got a little bit more distance. And you're going out in this area trying to bring it up. So what you'll have to do with your clubs is, I was setting mine so that I was 2.5 rings off of this transitional surface, max curl. And then you'll have to establish how much topspin that you can put on it before you run out of area. The first time you come out here, you can give yourself, let me zoom in a little. The first time you come out here, let me draw the lines. Let's get that right there. So let's say you gave yourself 2 rings of separation here. And you're going off in this direction. And you're trying to cover this angle to get up into this spot. So this is your swing. And I believe with that I was pulling back just a titch from the red line in this area. And if the first time you take the shot you end up here, then what you can do is, if you were let's say you started off at 2 rings and you ended up over here and you over curled it, then you move that shot out and you do 2.5. Or you do 3 and really push the limit to see if you can get over here, so you know it's 2.5 is in the middle. If you end up over here, then you'll have to pinch it up more, or you'll have to bring out a ball that's got more side spin, or you'll have to pick a club that's got more curl. If you don't have, you don't have APOC, you could come out here. You'd probably have to bring out a big ball in rookie, but you might be able to do it with your big topper if you could get there with the big enough ball, because it has tons of curl, and you're not really going to need the top spin. I don't think it takes very much topspin to get up here. If I'm remembering correctly, it takes very little, like 1 or 2, and you'll overshoot this. In the past, and if you're playing from the pro tees, you're probably going to have to play this direction right here. There used to be some trees out here, and they used to cast shadows across it, and you really wanted to get right to the shadow. You wanted to be in the shadow at the end of your shot. If you hit, I see people do this all the time, where they come out here and they try and shoot it. They try and get a bunch of distance and they end up right here. Well, guess what? When you're looking at the flagpole, once you get into that spot, hey dude, you got lots of distance on your drive. Woo! These trees are in your way. So this is one of the things that this course used to teach people, was pinpoint placement. It's not just that you're hitting the ball out here, it's that you're hitting the ball to there. And the next time you come, you want to be there. And you want to be there, and you want to be there. You don't want to be here and 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 here. You don't want to be doing that shit. You need to be right there, because that's the angle that you need to be, so that you can use this little tongue to get to the hole, so you can get a bounce and then bounce over to get to the hole. This area out here has fans. It has spectators. Nobody ever hits to that area. If you bring out the equipment so that you can go out, you can prove me wrong, and you hit out there, you're going to piss off a bunch of people, and they're going to hate you. you're not going to be a very popular golfer out on the course. It seems to me that you could bring something really big and try and get around this corner and try and get over this and get up into this area, but I'm not sure that it's even worth it. If you can get up into the tip right here, you've got a great shot to the cup, and you've got two options. There is, if you bring the right equipment, there is a rough bump that you can do. It's not, in most cases, it's not my particular cup of tea, because it's more of an eye rough bump where you're hitting it like this. And I really like T rough bumps where you're hitting in the rough here, and so, you know, you got a little bit of room. If you hit left or right, you're still going to hit the rough, because the most important part of a rough bump is hitting the rough, and number two, the most important part is getting out of the rough. And it's super easy on an eye rough bump like this, where you hit it great to the right and you're in the sand, and you hit it great to the left and you're in the fairway and you're going for a ride. But if you can get up here in the front of this and use a little bit of side spin to come back to the hole, it might not be a bad deal. But there's a great shot from right here, just running up to the cup. Great shot. And this is once again where we were doing a very light adjustment. It was like between 0 and plus 10. I mean, it was very small. I'm trying to think here on this hole. Maybe thinking of some of these. Trying to think, there's another hole in the game that's got a very similar vibe to it than this, and we're trying to get down into this area, but I don't think this is the hole. This is the spot right here, and that's the shot. But if you don't like that and you don't have a club that has curl, you can hit down into this area right here, and I will tell you, if you're hitting into there, I've played this shot a ton of times, and I've always done plus 10 on the drive. And the shot that's over here, I'm going to do plus 10 on that as well, but if you're hitting down into this area, it definitely carries. And if you got a headwind, it's definitely going to push you back more. And you're just trying to get to this area right here. It doesn't take, you don't have to put all your topspin on there. You don't want to put all your topspin on there, because you don't want to end up here behind those trees. You do have a good shot from here. And it's not that much farther than over here, but you'll have to take this shot a few times to find out where this bounce is getting you and where you can get over to come down. All right. I'll go out there and practice this tomorrow morning. I'm gonna get up early tomorrow morning, and I'm gonna practice. I got a bunch of shit to do tomorrow, but I will try and get up early and come out and practice in tomorrow's Monday's qualifying round, so that I can save myself some practice tokens. The practice token thing is really starting to irritate me. If you buy something that has practice tokens and you're not getting, like if you're just getting the T's or the explosions divided by 6, each one, you do the math and you tell me where I'm off here. If it's a 6-shooter, let me pull it up here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I was looking at them earlier, and we go into ball, we go to customize, we go into tees. I picked this one right here. So there's 6 shots. Okay, it costs 500 gems in order to reload this. So it's 500 gems divided by 6 means that each practice tee, each practice token, costs 83.33 gems. So if I need 5 of the 6, you would think that it would be 420, 417, 416 and some change, but yet they want 465 for me to reload it. And I've got another one on here that's the same thing. It's got 2 in it. And so times 2 minus 500 is 333. It should cost 333.33 to reload it, but they want 410. And I've played with this a bunch of times, and it just won't pop up because it's the random deal. It's a 6-shooter. We use revolvers because they're supposed to be super reliable, and every time you pull the trigger, as long as there's a bullet in the chamber, bam. But not with Playdemic. We're playing Russian roulette is what we're playing with Playdemic, but yet they charged us real money for it. It just cracks me up. I'm baffled by it. Because we're all little kids. This is the kind of shit they do with kids who went to mommy and daddy and said, hey, can I get $5 to do the thing? And they do it, and so they playing some little game where you're getting stuffed animals and shit. Your average person that plays Golf Clash is probably in their 40s. Not everybody, but the average person is probably in their 40s, and they treat us like little kids. Just saying, just saying. All right, there we go. That's a look at the players. I'm going to be excited to play. I like this course, so I'm going to do a practice round tomorrow and see where we're at and go out there and do it. But I am really excited to play this tournament, and we'll see. And there's a couple of the holes on here. That last par 4, I don't have a lot of time and grade on that because that's a relatively new hole, and I haven't played. This isn't in any of the tours that I've been playing, so it'll be all exciting and fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, hit subscribe, hit the like button, ring the bell, do all that good stuff. Leave me a comment, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, my friends. Stay safe.